All right, so the next step then for us is to take this into AutoCAD. And so you're all familiar with the next part, which is essentially you select the lines like this. And, sorry, I was going to type in the command, but File, Export Selected. And I'm sure you guys are now used to actually creating folders for these things. I have a very messy folder this time around. I'm going to create a folder for this one though. Folded Planes Terminal. Make sure you change it to CAD, which is d.dwg. And I'll call this Site Plan 1. You can go with the default export scheme. And then in AutoCAD, oh, I have the title block open, but you essentially can just open it. So I'm going to go to File, Open, go into Folded Planes Terminal, and open Site Plan 1. Continue. And here's my line work. So here's the key. All of this stuff you've seen before. So I'm not going to walk you through this step by step, but I'm going I think that the best suggestion for you right now would be to just stop what you're doing and watch me setting it up, because I'm just going to talk through the logic of what I'm viewing, and then the only important part that you will probably want to follow step by step is how I set it up at the end, sort of. So at this point, if I'm looking at my roof plan, I've got a couple of different components. I have landscaping, I have sidewalks, I have setback lines, I have parking lot lines, I have balcony, and I have the actual building envelope. So I'm going to start setting that up under layer properties. I don't like these. Well, I'll rename all of these. So let me just kind of minimize the size of this a little bit. Alright, so we've got building forms. I'm going to rename that to envelope 0. I'll figure that out later. This is another building forms one. I don't know why there are two of them, but I'll figure that out a little bit. Actually, can I just select this layer? Yeah, check that out. Alright, so I'll show you a trick there later on once I get into this, but oh, look at that, it didn't keep the interesting. Alright, so forms, buses, I'm going to leave as buses. Landscape will stay as landscape. I don't think I have anything on this layer, but it came through, so there must be something. I'll just leave it as layer 6. I'm basically just taking off all this object dollar stuff, and then I'll play around with some other new ones later on. Okay, so the important stuff here, I have two envelope ones. So I have the envelope and I have forms. If you have two layers that are seemingly identical that you need to rectify, there's a cool command that's called layer ISO, or lay ISO, and it's just to isolate the layer that you have selected in order to try and bring the two together. So if I grab this layer here and I say lay ISO, it locks all the other layers except for that one. And so the other thing, why was that different than the other one I was trying to do? Hold on a sec. So the other thing is, if you right click it, you can say isolate selected layers. The other one, turn them all off. Hold on. There was another one I was trying to do. Weird. I don't know why I turned them all off before. But anyway, what I'm noticing here is that while this line is, regular red, this line is not, right? And it doesn't have any grips. So that means that that particular line is on the wrong layer. So this envelope line is what I'm trying to get at. So I can turn, once you do lay ISO, you do lay, I think it's lay thaw or lay on. Or is it just lay ISO to reset it? Off. Off. Hold on. Now I forget how to un-ISO. Oh, lay un-ISO, I think it was what it is. Lay un-ISO. No layers to restore. Sorry, there's a weird setting here I'm not used to. But lay ISO just locked them all. And, alright, there we go. Lay ISO, settings. So, in the settings, you have the option to set it to lock and fade, which is what it was doing. You can change the fade value, or you can set it to off. So what I currently just changed it to was off. So this time, when I go to a layer and I say isolate selected layers, it turns the rest of them off. So the key for that is, if I have those two layers and I want to just isolate those two, I can select them both, go to isolate selected layers, and there they are. Then I can just grab them all, put them on the layer that I want them on, which is going to be envelope, and then I can delete the layer for forms. Clear enough? Sort of, kind of, yes?
I had a quick question. Why would we do that? Why would we separate the layers?
Why would you separate them?
Yeah.
So that we can change the visibility of each of those layers.
Okay, so we're gonna see them
Huh?
separately? Like for
Do you mean with lay ISO, or do you mean why do we have all these layers?
ISO.
Okay, so the only reason I did lay ISO was because I noticed that I had two layers that I thought should be the same layer.
Oh, okay.
So I did it to identify which items those were, and then look at it, and I verify by looking at it that that line work is actually supposed to be just one layer. It's a good question. And then you can do lay on, and it turns all the layers on. Or lay un ISO will work too. So I fixed that one layer. I've got them all separated into different things. We now need to set up the sheet and then start looking at the graphics of the thing. So the sheet setup is all the same stuff we've done before, so I'm going to quickly go through this. I'm going to go to Page Setup Manager and Modify and set this to PDF. Go to Tabloid, Monochrome, set it to Layout, Landscape, and everything else should be fine. The other thing I'm going to do is insert the 11 by 17 title block. So I will attach it, select my 11 by 17 title block, hit OK, and drop it in, and it's really tiny. Why is it really tiny? Units, architectural, inches. Aha. I think that must have been it. Attach, 11 by 17, hit OK. OK, there we go. So it was at the wrong scale. There we go. So we're already back in business, right? So that's really quick to get the sheet set up. And so now I'm sure you're beginning to understand the true power of setting up title blocks as sort of a separate file and why it makes so much more sense to link it in. So now I can actually look at the graphics. So there are some things that I'm just reiterating from the past. We go into layer properties, we drop in a new one. This one I'm going to call viewport. I'm going to drop in another one and call it text, but I'm probably not going to set that up yet. Viewport I'm going to change to black. And I will actually change this viewport to be on the black layer. And then also the viewport layer, I want to make sure it's not going to print, so I'll set it to a non-plot layer. Close that one off. And for me right now, I'm just going to kind of pull it out to roughly the extents of the whole view so that I can test the scale, right? So now I'm trying to drop it on the sheet. I want to get it to the approximate scale now. There's a reason I do it ahead of time, and that's because if I have a view that's really, really small, and I'm playing with like dot patterns and dash patterns and stuff, they're going to show up on a much smaller drawing. But when you make it larger, the appropriate size, then those dashes could actually be really, really tiny, and you might not even see them. They're so tiny. So that's why you do this now. So I can play around with this. I don't recall exactly how big it was, so I'm just going to guess. 1/16 of an inch is too small. 1/4 inch, almost there, but still a little on the small side. 1/2, ooh, just a hair too large. So we'll go with 3/8. Okay, so right now I'm not necessarily concerned with exact centerization or clearing room for notes on the side or anything like that, so it's just approximately in the center. So let's take a look at what this thing actually looks like. I go to plot, I go to preview, and oh, look at that, monochrome didn't work. Oh, I recall why. Because all of my layers are not set to actual colors. Right, so I have to set that up as well. So I go back to layers, change all of these to be index colors, red, green, cyan, I have no idea, magenta, blue, oops. I'll leave this as black, and text I'm going to make index red. That one is already black, so we got, these will have to be changed to the 250. I don't think 000 works, although it will actually show up black anyway. And that should be it. So now when I go back into the preview, what you'll see is that we have all black lines, but there are no line weights or line types. So that quick 10-minute video of all the setup and all the crazy stuff that I just did is really the stuff that you've already learned, and it's kind of just showing you how quick the setup really is once you have some of the stuff in place. If you don't have to draw title blocks and everything, we've already got a drawing that's almost ready to put out. So what questions do you have on that before we move into actually making it look good? Okay.